We have another story.
Something was off. The house door was broken.
So I approached the cop.
So I'm talking a bunch of crap.
You're the idiot!
In major metropolitan real estate markets, co-op and listing agents are responsible for the placement of tenants into rental properties. These are their stories.
Hey everybody, it's Hussein Kabani, your favorite broker, and I'm here today with...
Aima Kabani.
That name is always still very weird, eh?
Apparently I was so loved by the audience that Hussein had to bring me back on.
Yeah, let's just go with that. It's easier for the marriage. But yeah, we just wanted to kind of keep up with their storytelling. We have another story that we thought of, and we thought it was interesting enough to share with you guys. So here it goes. Basically, we were in a summer routine of basically saying, hey, we're going to go for walks around the neighborhood.
Yes.
So we're walking around the neighborhood after having our dinner or whatnot. And yeah, so we're basically walking around and we see a cop car and it's parked in front of a house, and it's still kind of under construction, the area. So this cop car was like parked in reverse into like a construction, near a construction trailer, like directly pointing at a house.
Correct.
And it just sat there for like a day or two or something like that.
Which isn't too uncommon. I mean, we see cop cars around all the time. It's nothing to feel scared about, but specifically that day we saw one or two and then both disappeared, and then a couple came back as well. So it just did not seem something was off. Why are there so many cop cars coming in and out? Yeah. And I think later on that same day, how many would you say were? I
think there was like six or so, six or eight cop cars all around the spot. So it was like one was still parked at the very front of the house, and then there was like a little side street kind of at the back. So there was a cop car at the back. There was like a couple on the sides, one further up the road.
Yeah, and obviously it doesn't take a genius to realize that they're all kind of
surrounding this
one house.
Yeah.
Even though there are a bunch of townhouses, you know exactly which one they're watching because they're literally directly right in front of it.
So I think this was like the third day or whatever. We're walking around and now we see like all this police presence. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go over to that cop and just ask him what's going on. Like, we live in the community. We should kind of know what's up here. Like, this is looking a little odd right now.
Yeah.
Aima's like, no, you shouldn't go and approach this cop. And I was like, what's going to happen here? Let's just go talk to the guy. So I approached the cop. He's very cool. I think he was doing something on his phone, maybe playing a game, or I don't know what he was doing, browsing social. He was chilling though, but he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Basically just asked him straight up, hey, what's going on over here? Like, why is all these cops here like for the last few days? I don't understand. Basically just told me that he can't get into it. He can't give me any of the details, but he's like, what I can tell you is that we're here and we're waiting to execute a search warrant. We're waiting on a search warrant to execute. I was like, wow. So they're actually surrounding this house right now. They don't have a search warrant to go into the house right now, but they feel like this is enough of a threat to have 4, 6, 8 cop cars all around this house over here to wait for a search warrant to come through.
Yeah.
They don't want to leave the site until the search warrant comes through.
A little backstory. So we moved into that neighborhood a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago. Yeah. And I mean, we walk around, we're pretty active in the neighborhood. So we did notice that there was a for sale sign on that lawn for a very long time, at least for as long as we lived in the neighborhood. So a little bit of backstory is that we knew that whoever is living in this house is a tenant.
Yeah.
Because you've seen the listing, the lease listing, and we've seen the signs go up. So we knew that it was definitely an issue with the tenant. So as we're walking back after having this conversation with the cop, who was very nice, we're walking back to the house, and I started talking about the leasing process with Hussein, just talking about how important it is to screen your tenants, because I think more this year than ever before, we're trying to be a lot more diligent than we have ever been.
I think we always were. Like, I'm not trying to brag about us, but like, I think we were always very, very diligent, and we're very careful about who we put in there. But I think over time we've gotten better. Like, I mean, that's the whole process, right? Like, you get better, you add on more processes and whatnot. We've gotten better. So I don't know. Like, I have to be honest. We really scrutinize other people's processes, and we want the best practice, right? So, but if somebody's doing something right, I'm not going to lie. We're going to implement that at the same time. But we're always scrutinize people's process. I don't think a lot of people have a great process like we do.
Yeah,
I'm just going to put that out there.
So as we're walking back, we're obviously saying great things about ourselves and our process, and almost bashing any real estate agent that does not do what we do. So I'm talking a bunch of crap or walking back, and I said to Hussein, you know what? When we go back home, before we go to sleep, I'm going to look up the history of this listing. I'm really curious to know who is this co-op agent that put this tenant there and, provided all the
and
documents.
Who's also the listing agent too, though, right? Because they ultimately make the call on it,
exactly,
right?
Because
but yeah, so it's like the listing agent does make the call. So they get the application, they get all the information, and that listing agent has the responsibility of doing the due diligence to make sure that the application that's being brought forward by the cooperating agent, the tenant's agent, like everything looks legit and whatnot. But so there's two sides of it. Like, why did this listing agent actually move forward with this based on the documentation they had? And what kind of risk was this co-op agent taking
representing someone
like this?
Yeah.
We were just like disgusted by this whole process.
Exactly. So on our way back, it was a 15-minute walk. So anyway, that summarizes our 15-minute walk back. We get to the house, Hussein goes into the bathroom, does his business, and I was very curious at this point. So I started logging in. I look up the address, I'm looking at the history, and I'm scrolling down, going click, 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 click. I get to the bottom of the MLS sheet, and it says, co-op agent, Hussein Kabani.
No, she basically starts yelling out, and I'm sitting on the toilet at this point, and she's basically yelling, "You're the idiot! You're the idiot! Your name is on the co-op agent. You're the idiot." I was like, oh my gosh, man. Like, I know we do a bunch of deals, but I remember all of them. I would have known if we placed somebody in here. It didn't make any sense to me.
And then so we went into our email, we looked up the address, and I'm trying to figure out, it's impossible, even in my head, as much as I'd love to talk crap about Hussein. I know that there's no way he could have done this. So I'm looking into your email, going back, like I'm looking at your Google Drive to see what folders come up. Do you have any backup documents on this tenant?
Yeah.
Long story very short, you had nothing.
Yeah, I almost had nothing. We had the critical pieces that we need, but to cut to the chase here, like it wasn't me that personally did the deal. During that time, I was running a small team, which has been dismantled since, one of the reasons these kind of deals. But, it was an agent that I had under me, and the deal gets recorded in my name. So it actually did show my name on the co-op agent. So we were really shocked that it was me.
And I suspected that once this whole search warrant is executed and they find out what is exactly happening inside the house, I said, Hussein, someone's going to call you because your name's on there and they're going to want to know what went down and who put, who was the person that was living in here.
And this is not behind us. Like, hey, these things can circle back to you and come back to you in a year or 2 years, 3 years. Like, this is like probably a police investigation at this point right now, despite the house being sold already.
Oh, yeah.
This is still going to continue. Like, if I get a call in the next year or 2 years, I won't be surprised. And the good thing we have some of the documentation now that we can actually show what actually happened. Over here.
The next day, the house door was broken down, completely smashed.
We see cops in there, like, fingerprinting. So obviously they got their search warrant.
Yeah.
And they're like fingerprinting everything,
taking a bunch of pictures. Like
it looked like a crime scene.
I was gonna say, just like in the TV shows that we watch, like big flashes coming in and out. There's like 10 or 15 people inside of the house doing their thing. I don't know. It was interesting. It was interesting to see, but at the same time,
So moving this all forward and coming to our close, this is what we heard what happened. Okay, we had somebody tell us this. And if I just correct me if I get it wrong, but like from what I understood is that there was some type of gang association, some people that were living in there that were associated with the gang. And apparently what ended up happening is that this person apparently was a woman.
Yes.
Ended up going to Montreal downtown and shooting some mafia person or whatever in the middle of a restaurant.
So it was a hit woman.
And this was like a backlash. So apparently what ended up happening is that we didn't know this, but apparently someone did target that house again and shoot into that house.
Yeah.
And I think this is what set off the police at this point. Like, I'm sure neighbors called in and complained, but there was bullets fired into that house.
Yeah. So from all the information we gathered from around the neighborhood, it was a hit woman hiding out. Be aware.
Yeah.
You should know who your neighbors are.
Exactly. And that's our crazy story. We didn't expect to hear this kind of stuff, especially so close to home, right? Like you hear about these things on news and whatever else like that. But this was like literally 2-3 streets over from where we are at.
So very close to home.
Yeah.
We'll come back again next month with another story.
Yeah. So until next time, guys, remember one thing.
Get Kabani, get sold.
Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold.